or the alleged shooter, you think they're a patsy?
Of course, they're a patsy. I mean, come on, it's just so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day.
Yeah, we were able to establish that Mr. Robinson had been on campus approximately 4 times throughout the day.
All right, well, I want to talk about the Tyler Robinson trial that is currently unfolding, because this is obviously something we cannot forget about. The fact that a leftist ghoul murdered the most important activists of our movement, then hundreds of thousands of his supporters across the country proceeded to publicly gloat about it, celebrate it, call for it to happen to the rest of us, which is a detail we should not forget. But of course, we obviously, when talking about this, cannot ignore the various subversive figures on the supposed quote-unquote right wing who likewise have spent the entire past year making it their political project not to push back on or politically defeat the very communists who caused this to begin with, but rather to defend them, to argue for the exoneration of Tyler Robinson, that he's not guilty. Actually, it was Israel, then it was the Egyptian Air Force, then it was the French Foreign Legion, then it was Donald Trump, then it was the Turning Point Board. Nobody even knows, they don't even really have an actual theory on this, much less evidence, but hey, anything quite conveniently, any level of supposedly quote-unquote asking questions that quite conveniently every single time exonerates the communist scumbags who actually did this to begin with. And yet they want to say that we're the ones who are the op or the controlled opposition or something like that, not the people who are convincing us that actually the left-wingers who literally did this and publicly admitted to doing it are not the enemy. But quite curiously, ever since this trial has began, it seems as if a lot of those figures have suddenly gone quiet, which you would think, if they were getting towards the truth, is an inversion of what ought to be happening. Hey, Candace Owens, isn't this your big thing? I mean, you spent the entire past year just making conspiracy videos about Charlie Kirk. Why is it you now have not done a show in almost 2 weeks? I mean, this should be your moment, right? Jump on this, prove it wrong. Oh, wait a minute. Why are they not doing that? Why are these retards, these conspiratards, whatever you want to call them, suddenly now going completely silent the moment that the court case is actually playing out? Gee, could it be because of the fact that they are completely wrong about this, that it is not really up for debate? Absolutely. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a violent leftist named Tyler Robinson. Tyler admitted to this multiple different times in writing. We have the forensic evidence. And now, as of today, we have brand new video footage that was played as evidence within the trial that directly refutes one of Candace Owens' major theories on this. But of course, I'm sure her followers will bombard this video just saying something about you're bought by Israel because you showed like actual footage. You showed evidence instead of like retarded speculation. Therefore, you're bought by Israel. So I guess being aligned with reality means that you are like being paid by Netanyahu or something like that, or they're going to claim the videos are AI or something, whatever. But of course, we did get the theory from a lot of these brain dead idiots that Tyler Robinson was never on the UVU campus. And then guess what they just proved today in court? Actually, he was. Yeah, funny how that works. Funny how we called out from the beginning. You can go back, you watch our video from last year about why these people are so wrong and ultimately fundamentally subversive to the right wing. And I think I lost like 50 subscribers. That's a record for one video because so many people want to go along with this. So I encourage all those characters, right? All the unsubscribers. Hey, I dare you, come back. Let's actually hear you try to make a real case instead of just saying, whoa, are you saying that we shouldn't be allowed to ask questions? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I also think that when you ask questions, you should be trying to get somewhere. Or, by the way, when you get the answers to those questions, you should say, okay, so my question is resolved. But here is my thing, and here's what I find to be especially frustrating. Again, not only is she doing everything in her power to exonerate the very leftists who did this, okay? And you notice, if you paid attention to her content, she's completely withdrawn from politics over the past year, doesn't care about any real issues that matter. It's just Israel, Epstein, Charlie Kirk, all of this stuff. And even now is publicly saying things like left versus right is a divide. It's about America. It's about Patriots versus Israel or something. First of all, every single conclusion of her supposed questions is, again, based on, oh, we actually need to unify with the violent leftist communist scumbags who are destroying our country and literally did this and literally want to kill us. And so, yes, I find that to be problematic. When political figures, in the name of asking questions or whatever, that purport to be part of the conservative movement, advocate for things that help get conservatives killed, yeah, actually, I have a problem with that. But then, of course, secondly here, again, are you ever going to provide evidence of anything? See, that is the thing. Despite all of this stuff she's done for the past year, the only evidence she's basically given is, oh, that's a funny coincidence because Charlie Kirk was saying something about being frustrated with pro-Israel donors, which is something that happens in politics, right? You have coalitional issues, whatever. He's trying to fundraise. These people are withdrawing. Therefore, that must imply that Israel or Zionists killed Charlie Kirk, to which I say, no, that's actually not how it works, right? In politics, you have multiple different enemies. Are you going to say, first of all, that, oh, just because certain hardcore Zionists or neocon characters didn't like Charlie Kirk, that means that leftists also didn't like Charlie Kirk? Do you understand that two things can be true at once? And so therefore, when we have strong, irrefutable evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, it's actually not evidence to say, oh, but these people also hated him. Okay, what does that have to do with the case? What does that have to do with the people who actually killed him, right? But anyways, nonetheless, let's talk about this. And yeah, not a good day for these people. Wonder why they're so silent in today's video. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work. And it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, let's talk about some of the things that have unfolded from the Tyler Robinson trial just this week. Yesterday, it was reported out of the courtroom that Tyler Robinson was seen laughing in court as Erica Kirk was weeping just feet away. So you can clearly tell, first of all, that this scumbag, this, again, ghoul, doesn't have any remorse whatsoever. It's not much of a stretch to say he's still proud to this day of what he did, right? Of taking that man's life in front of his wife and children. Our hero, our arch patriot, clearly has no issue with what he did. But you know, right, again, according to a certain faction of the right wing, actually, he's just, like, he didn't do anything. Actually, he should be found not guilty. That's what they've been spending the entire past year trying to do, trying to make sure this leftist scumbag, the hero of so many other people who likewise are trying to kill us, gets exonerated and walks free in the United States of America. Again, that's why I have such a problem with these people. But still, nonetheless, there you have that yesterday. And then today, very interesting. You know, you want to talk about things that supposedly we're not allowed to talk about. You wonder, you know, why don't they want you asking questions about this? Okay, well, here's my question then to Candace Owens. Why did Tyler Robinson's defense team not want the security camera footage of UVU that day to be used as evidence in court? Huh, Candace Owens? I'm just asking questions here, right? Because let's not forget, and again, for people who say, oh, well, she's just trying to get to the bottom of the truth. You know, she's investigating things. She's a credible person. That last year, one of Candace Owens' major theories, one of her big things about this whole case and why she doesn't believe it was Tyler Robinson and it was really the conspiracy of Trump, Israel, Epstein, Egyptian Air Force, French Foreign Legion, Turning Point Board, whatever it is she believes. And it doesn't make sense, by the way. It's completely schizophrenic. Like, again, it's been a year. Can you at least provide us a coherent theory on who you believe Charlie Kirk and killed Charlie Kirk and why you believe that to be the case? You know, can't do it. But one of her big arguments was, let's not forget, Tyler Robinson was never on the UVU campus that day. So before we show the evidence in court that proves this evil scumbag woman completely wrong, let's not forget what she said about it.
In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus.
I mean, who is Tyler Robinson? What the fuck was he doing there?
I don't
Do you think
Tyler Robinson was there.
You don't think he was there?
No. I think he's a total patsy.
Were you able to determine at what time or times Mr. Robinson visited the UVU campus on September 10th?
Yeah, we were able to establish that Mr. Robinson had been on campus approximately 4 times throughout the day, twice before the shooting. The time of the shooting and then after the shooting later in the evening into the early hours of the 11th.
Now, in total fairness, I suppose if you're Candace Owens, you still have a really easy out, which is all you have to do is still call it fake and say that you don't believe it, right? That's also part of the cover-up, bro. The forensic evidence in court, that's not real either. The security cam footage, that's just AI. Never mind the question of, okay, if that's the case, if it's all just fake evidence, why don't Tyler Robinson's lawyers bring that up? Why doesn't Tyler Robinson himself testify against that? You know, right? But I guess not. And then, of course, when we simply point out to these people, hey, the evidence is in our favor, you still don't have any evidence, then they just, why are we not allowed to ask questions? Because that's all Candace Owens has been doing for the past year, right? Just asking questions, not just spreading a bunch of retarded theories that are not only wrong, but fundamentally subversive, right? It's fundamentally trying to exonerate this evil communist leftist school bastard. But still, anyways, for that, to address that, and they can call the video fake if they want, even though it's accepted as evidence in court, whatever, I am going to show you. Here is indeed the security camera footage presented today that shows Tyler Robinson, indeed, not only on the UVU campus that day.
And do you believe you recognize who that person is?
Yes,
Who is that?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
All right, and where does he go from there?
He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus and actually goes to the quad area of the campus. At that time, he makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA.
You believe this is Mr. Robinson returning to campus?
I do, yes.
Okay. And what do you believe is Mr. Robinson?
The shoes are the same, and the images that we have are from my viewing and seeing Mr. Robinson on the video, it's the same person.
Now, what do we see?
So it's Mr. Robinson coming up the stairs of the parking structure.
Again, were you able to track Mr. Robinson when he leaves this parking structure?
Yes, we were able to.
Okay.
And again, in the top left corner, the individual is now seen running across the rooftop of the Losi building to what would be the southwest corner of the building, crouching down and then crawling to the corner of the building.
Yeah, so feel free to go watch the full 13-minute court clip if you want, but you basically get the idea. Here we have yet more evidence that indeed Tyler Robinson, first of all, was on UVU's campus that day. Secondly, that he's the one that did it. The video footage, by the way, is corroborating the witness testimony we got today in court of law enforcement and other types of sources that were by that building. They said they heard the shot come from the rooftop. Also further backed up by the medical examiner report that was presented in court this week, which, by the way, has ruled, guess what? The cause of death was a homicide. The manner of death was a gunshot wound to the neck. So the exploding microphone theory that some internet sleuths have tried to come up with, likewise has not been seen as remotely even valid or credible of an argument, much less evidence that is being brought up in court. But again, I'm sure that, you know, no matter what, they're just going to say it was a cover-up. And then they're going to tell us, oh, so you're saying that we should just all believe government narratives? You're saying we can't ask questions? It's like, no, dude, what I'm just bringing up is that, hey, maybe before you could say, oh, well, it hasn't been proven in court yet. Let's find out innocent till proven guilty. Okay. Well, it already seemed even outside of court where this was going. But then let me ask this question. Okay. So when he is found guilty, which is an inevitability unless we have a Candace Owens fan on the jury, which is a genuine concern. But if that doesn't happen, then what are you going to say at that point, right? Is that going to be enough? Are your questions going to be adequately satisfied? Or let me take a wild guess here. They're going to move on to something else, right? They're still going to be claiming that, oh, it was a cover-up. It was all rigged. The government was rigged, you know, whatever. You know how this type of stuff goes. And of course, they look at you like you're crazy. What? You really believe that a leftist would engage in political violence? They never engage. Yeah, they do. Yeah. See, here's the thing. I don't mind conspiracies. I don't mind asking questions, quote unquote. But, that's within a certain reasonable bound, which is to say, okay, when something seems completely off or implausible, like a lot of the stuff we saw during COVID and those types of things where something is obviously true, but they're censoring you for saying it, which, by the way, very funny. Notice how Candace and Ian Carroll and Tucker Carlson and none of these people do get censored. But then at that point, it's like, yes, then you can say, look, that's true, right? They're trying to shut down truth. But you're going to sit here, for example, Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you guys saw recently. He literally went out and said, nobody believes Charlie Kirk really would have gotten killed over his opinion on transgenderism, to which I say, yes, he did. Yeah, actually, I believe that. Yes, that's completely 100% what happened. You had, first of all, he was literally answering a question about trans violence the moment that he got shot. We know Tyler Robinson was dating a transformer, okay, just told, like literally trooned out individual. He did it, and then we're supposed to, that's completely implausible. Oh yeah, because it would be the first time the left has ever committed violence. Tucker, I know it probably seems like a million years ago, but I recall back when you actually supported Trump and, had views that were genuinely threatening to the bad guys in this country and not just running excuses for them and exonerating them constantly. But at that time, has this guy even forgotten that the very reason he moved out of Washington, D.C. was because crazy leftists were showing up to his house and threatening him? And now conveniently he's saying to these people, oh, well, they're totally peaceful. They would never do such a thing. Yeah, leftists are actually the good guys. Like, are you serious right now? Give me a freaking break. No, you know what it is? Let me explain something. You know what it is? Obviously, these people are actually working for the left. Okay, that's actually fact number one, because when you're trying to push the right wing towards a conclusion in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination that actually the left isn't your enemy, actually we should go soft on those people, actually like there should be no legal or political retribution for the people who did this and the people who cheered this or whatever. Yeah, I don't care. I'm sorry. You are a left-wing asset, whether you're a useful idiot or intentionally subversive, maybe a little bit of both. That is true. But also, can I point out further, these people can sell themselves however they want. Oh, we're the truth tellers. We're talking about things you're not allowed to talk about. And then we're going to talk about it constantly, even though we're supposedly not allowed to talk about it, right? And everyone who's going against us, which is what Candace and Tucker and all their fans say, everyone who's going against us, they're just bought out by Israel or the establishment or whatever it is. Okay, you can do that all you want. But you know something? Fundamentally, what this is, the whole Charlie Kirk truther thing, the Charlie Kirk conspiracy thing, it's actually a defense mechanism. It's fundamental cowardice. And let me explain why. Is because what was very illuminating about September 10th, 2025 is actually leftists want to kill us and are insane. And yes, if you are standing by, let's say, for example, Trump or genuinely effective right-wing politics, things that are threatening to the left, which they are, right? Then what happens? These people are crazy, they're insane, they're violent, they will try to kill you. Like, that is an inevitability of life, right? So, but of course, notice how the left does not threaten Tucker, does not threaten Candace. Notice how the hit pieces and negative media coverage against them has completely evaporated. As a matter of fact, you go to certain leftist outlets like TYT and others, you'll see them constantly glazing and praising people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and also Thomas Massey and many others, right? Like, notice how that works. And as someone who's just asking questions, gee, I don't know, isn't it so interesting that fundamentally cowardly and weak people would suddenly leave the trenches and basically surrender to the other side and beg for mercy, which is literally what these people are doing, right? Trying to just jump off. Oh, I don't support Trump. Guys, I don't think it was you. Leftists are not the bad guys. It was Israel, right? Which is a position the entire left wing has, that Israel is bad. So that's a very convenient alliance, right? Guys, like, I'm not going after you. I'm not a threat. Please go after the other guys. Go after the guys who are still actually doing things and making a difference and trying to follow in Charlie's memory and his footsteps. Those are the bad guys, right? The people doing things are the bad guys. Don't worry. We're so subversive and retarded and ineffective that we will never pose a threat to the left. In fact, we're only working for you guys. So please go easy on us. Save us from the assassination. Save us from the gulags. Go after the other ones. That's what's actually going on here. And I want people to like really take notes of that and really take that in. Like, again, they can call themselves the bold ones, the ones taking risks. No, you're actually like literally what they're doing is effectively cowardly begging for mercy from the very people who actually shot Charlie Kirk and would try to do the same if they were genuinely posing a threat to the left and our enemies and the bad guys and the sinister demonic forces against this country. But they're not. Funny how that works. But hey, I'm just asking questions, right? I'm just asking questions. Why is it that all of what they're doing so conveniently lines up with, I don't know, something that, let's say, if I were the left, if I were George Soros or whatever, I would want to try to plant this in the right wing to say, hey, you know, let's make them totally divided and against each other and distracted from us. And half of them are saying we're not the real enemy and let our people take over their people, take over the country, right? I'm just saying, right? If I were leftist, actually, here's my conspiracy theory. You want to know my conspiracy theory? I think all of these people, and on this whole idea, Israel killed Charlie Kirk, let's jump off the Trump train because of Epstein, all these things. Actually, that's the conspiracy theory. Actually, that's the psyop, right? Is that they're trying to divide the right wing and destroy a genuinely effective both administration and political movement as a whole. Why? Because they understand, you know, that's how to actually tear apart the right. And that's an effective way to do that. It's not 2017 anymore. No longer can leftists just try to call us racist or something, because clearly that doesn't work. So, hey, instead of attacking them from the left, let's now try to attack the right from within. Let's attack the right from the right, saying, oh, actually, you know, I'm the real right winger. That's why I don't support Trump, and I believe Israel controls everything, which is why we shouldn't vote, or we should vote for Democrats to boycott Republicans. Yeah, literally some of these characters are saying that, and then we're like, oh, you know, you don't see what's going on here, right? I don't know. You basically get the point I'm trying to make, but that's all I'm going to say, okay? Nonetheless, central conclusion here. Again, the evidence continues to build in court. Literally, Tyler Robinson did it. Yes, it was a leftist. Yes, leftists celebrated this. But do also just please never take the people seriously who, you know, did not get it in this moment on September 10th ever again. And, you know, forget even not taking them seriously or they're just stupid. No, I mean, honestly, to a certain point, especially now how far this has gone, I think you should view them as evil, frankly, right? It's no longer they're just like schizophrenic idiots who are just like obsessed with conspiracy theories, right? At a certain point, there's actually just evil what they're doing, and their entire goal is indeed to subvert us and to help the communists, right? Useful idiots. You know, we think that term only applies to foreign issues from the Cold War. No, it's never been the case, right? Useful idiots for the communists have always existed. They exist now too, just in a different form. I'm just saying. Anyways, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.